Greetings. This is Griff Ruby, the Nostalgia Catholic, with another Touched by an Angel review. And this is now the second episode to be aired. It was called Show Me the Way Home, and it featured, well, it started with our two familiar characters, Monica and Tess sitting there on the front of Tess's famous red Cadillac, watching a bit of a baseball practice going on. Oops. And let's introduce some of the characters. Main character here is this gentleman here. He is the coach. He's kind of strict, kind of hard to deal with, and he's going through stuff, and the story is principally about him. So there's a lady here, fairly minor character, but she is the mother of another one of the main characters, a boy named Peter Enlow, which we will get to shortly. In fact, I'll just go ahead and jump straight over to Peter right now. This young man is Peter Enlow. He is that coach's star player on the team. He is an extraordinarily good baseball player. Really good. And he's also the son of that lady. And apparently her husband, this boy's father, had passed away some time before. And the coach is about the nearest thing to a father this young guy's got. But the coach is hard, and at one point he actually says he hates the man. Yeah, one other person to introduce here is another character. The only other player on the team who gets any attention, his name sometimes is Jake. Sometimes they call him Stinky because his last name is something along those lines. So these are the principal players. And what's going to happen is that, this is the first of a number of Touched by an Angel episodes, which basically a person is dying and they need to get ready and secrets need to be brought out that make for good surprises along the way, good adventures, and keep the show from being total boringness. So it's also kind of, they got something else they try to do. In this one, in the previous one, they had this cute little thing where Monica doesn't like to wear shoes. This one, instead, in an attempt to toast and congratulate the coach, and in anticipation of a big and important game that's coming up, she grabs a bottle of some kind of a hot sauce. We'll see more about that shortly. It's in her hand, and the toast is you drink from whatever's in your hand. Okay, that's usually some sort of a custom. It's a toast that's in your hand, you gotta drink it. So she does end up drinking it. But, the coach is there at the same sort of a bar and grill place run by the lady that's the mother of Peter Enlow, by the way. And he's proposing the toast, you gotta do it. You gotta do it. So that's what he's doing here. So she looks at her drink. Interesting drink for an angel to be drinking. Salsa del Diablo. Hot sauce. I have to wonder what the Scoville number on that thing is. It's probably something pretty substantial. So she ends up drinking this thing. Here we have it. It's a big laugh to everybody. So she ends up swallowing the whole thing, and it actually gets addicted to it. You'll see her drinking more of this stuff later on in the episode. Hopefully this is something we don't see too much more, but again, another attempt to make her interesting. There'll be another attempt to make her interesting we'll get to shortly. But, so you see, she just goes ahead and downs the whole thing, and it doesn't bother her. kind of makes me think of a scene from Next Generation Star Trek where Data is given an emotion chip, and he's in the bar, and he has a drink, and he drinks it. He's all, "This tastes revolting. I hate it. Give me another one." Because he just wants to have sensation, feeling, anything. And I don't know. Maybe she likes it, and I don't know. The other one is, so next day's practice, they're going at it, and she comes running up, hair swaying in the wind and with her rock jogging. Everyone's whistling at her. Yeah, okay. They had to make her look cute. I dare say they succeeded. So she ends up really drinking more of this stuff now that she doesn't even have to. She almost looks like a usual bar customer just sitting there drinking. This is their drink of choice. It's kind of that look. But at any rate, enough about trying to make her, talk her up or make her seem cute and interesting, blah, blah, blah. We got to get back to the story. As I mentioned, the man is dying, and he's been kind of hard on the boys on his team, really hard. And of course, apparently, poor Jake or Stinky gets the brunt of it, I think. Because he's apparently not that good. He's kind of incompetent, really. So he's kind of not done something important. He hasn't really left much of himself. He's got a background to all of this, and throughout this whole thing, there's this little motif where Monica will say, "It's the best I could do in such a short time." And turns out, and this is probably one of the other interesting features of it, Monica and this coach have met once before. He was in the war, I guess Vietnam, I assume, and I think I said as much. He's out there, and for a brief moment, his guard went down. He saw somebody he was supposed to shoot as another human being just like himself, and while he's going through this kind of moment of introspection, the guy shoots him, injuring him and ruining his pitching arm. You look forward to getting out and going on to be a great baseball player. Now the damaged pitching arm, best he could do is be a coach at a local high school, which, that's not what he intended to do with his life. But apparently he was dying on the, well, we'll hear more about this, the exact scenario. It's an interesting glimpse of Monica's previous career as probably search and rescue. So it's kind of a nice tidbit of that sort. We have one other small thing. Monica gets a coaching position by basically being a substitute teacher for the school where they have a baseball team. So she also substitutes teaching history. She does it outdoors. I guess at the neighboring house, but across the field the kids are all sitting on. There's the school, and she's giving them some sort of a history / English lesson. She's quoting Shakespeare at them, and so forth. So things go along like that, but the coach, I think, is really hard on poor little Jake, Stinky, whatever, and has Peter Enlow as captain of the baseball team try to tell poor Stinky, run 20 laps. And he says, okay, or if you don't. And he's just like, I'm not going to do it. You don't do it. I'm sick of this. You're being bad. And it's rather unpleasant language. And that's it. You're off the team. And finally, Peter Enlow, he's kind of hated the guy. That was like a final straw. He punches the coach, who starts to walk away, and minutes later falls down on the field, collapses. At the hospital, there's some good news and some bad news from the medical person there. Good news for Peter Enlow is his punch had nothing to do with the fact that the coach is in a very serious medical way. There's some minor results, a little bit of redness from the blow and so forth, mild stuff that's not really a big deal. She can tell him that much because he gave that much from his blow. However, that is the bad news is that is not what he's really in the hospital for. His condition, his medical condition, apparently pancreatic, I don't know, cancer or failure of some kind, is going to take his life, and fairly shortly. How shortly? Well, let's just say that as he's laying there in the hospital bed, it's time for a nice little revelation between him and Monica that I think is kind of neat. There's not a lot of twist. The background they have together seems to be the main thing, and the surprise that he's so sick he's gonna die real soon. So we'll just have this brief scene here. So they're reminiscing in bed as he's now recognized who she is. But he's still very unpleasant. He feels his life has been wasted, and she tells him frankly it has been, because there were things he could have done, worthwhile things, despite his injuries or whatever, and he's not going to. And he gets mad at her, he blows up, says a lot of cruel things, to the point where she's actually distressed about it and has to be consoled by Tess, who sings her famous "The Lord moves in mysterious ways" as she consoles her. It's kind of a nice moment. It gives us a good tender side of Tess that we kind of needed to see more of. But as I mentioned, the man is about to die, and the angel of death, Charles Rocket as Adam, is showing up ready to claim him. And we get Monica's intervention. She somehow pleads with him to allow one more day. Maybe he looks up to God, and I guess God gives the okay, because it's like, okay, he can stay one more day and try to make something useful of that day, of that one lone day. Well, she will. So there's a baseball game. It's the big important game. The talent scout from the college, UC Colorado, is going to be there and either choose him or some other great star player on the other team. And it's going to have a lot to do with how the players play, the two guys that he's choosing between, as well as it's also contributed by how the team wins or loses. And we are getting down towards the top of the ninth, or kind of the middle of the ninth, because the other team is already 3 points, and the team we're concerned with here, that Peter Enlow and his coach is for, has no points at all. So, but the other team is still up to bat, after which, once the third out can come along, it'll now be time for the coach's team, Peter Enlow, to be up to bat. So, we have one other second little intervention. Now, this has a rather odd thing on this I want to call attention to, because, alright, our old friend Jake Stinky, as we know, is not very competent. But the ball, through a little minor angelic intervention, manages to go right to his glove. It's an out. The other team is now out. And it's now finally Peter Enlow's team to be up to bat. Peter Enlow and the coach's team. So now it's the bottom of the ninth. So, but let's see how this happens exactly. Almost. You see that little bit? I'm gonna play. See some little finger twiddle. Okay. Makes me think of like the old Bewitched episodes where the girl just kind of does this little jiggle 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 with her nose, and magically all her housework is done. And this is kind of the same thing. It's sort of, what is that? Mighty Mouse? I don't know. Something. And this little intervention, the ball just falls out of the sky, out of the sun, whatever. A little bird flies along. and he catches the ball. It's an out for the other team. Now they're up to bat. They have a couple of they get some players on the bases. They also have the occasional strikeout. So now they're down by 2 strikes. No, 2 strikeouts. And now Peter Enlow comes up to bat. And he too has now struck once, struck twice, bases loaded. Everything rides on what happens at this point. And that's when the coach decides to show up. Suddenly it's like he's better enough, able to come to the game. He's never played at a game before. And there's a nice point where he's Peter's kind of like, I've never played a game without him there. Like, this is strange, this is new, I don't know if I'm ready for this. And like Monica says to him, well, just think of this as being the first of many games he'll be playing where he won't be there because you're going to go off to college or whatever. And he nods his head and realizes, yeah, you're right, heads on out. Like I said, he has 2 strikes, and now he's ready for the third one. The coach, calls a timeout, gives him a little bit of encouragement, hands him his own famous wooden bat that he's never shared with anybody. And the game continues with a rather interesting glimpse of Charles Rocket as an angel of death. He's sitting up there eating popcorn, waiting for the time for him to die come along and the game moving along. He's just sitting there eating popcorn like he's at a movie. Earlier in the episode, he's also seen reading a magazine, like he's just kind of waiting around for the person to be ready to die or something. There's a little bit, I think, of the first unseen pilot Angel of Death character here. I can almost picture the one from the movie pulling out a stopwatch and saying, well, better get on board, son. some such thing. Anyway, I had to show that. That's just so funny. But needless to say, Peter Enlow, with the coach's bat, the encouragement, strikes a beautiful home run shot with the bases loaded. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and he barely makes it to home base safe with just like a fraction of a second difference, but the referee calls it safe. 4 points to the 3 all at once at the very, very literally the last play of the game. Game over, and then they won. Okay, well, we always like it when our team wins, but now it is time for the coach to go. And it's kind of a nice symbolic way that, what do I need to do? They open up this little gate to the main baseball area. All you gotta do, let go, and just walk through the gate. And until with my hand, Monica holds his hand. Adam is there holding the gate open for him, and he walks through the gate into the next life. And that's it. So he dies happy. Well, again, a lot of this is human story, and so to that extent, there's really not a lot to say theologically, other than, as I'm saying, the angelic interventions are kind of extreme, and the bit with the little finger twiddling is definitely, I think that's actually worse, almost worse than the weird hot sauce. Though that too was kind of an unnecessary attempt. And the cuteness. I guess you think of angels sometimes as being like girls or something. In the Bible, angels don't appear to be. It isn't clear whether they even will speak of them as having a gender per se. They are beings of a totally different order when we're talking the spirit kind. Although I should also note that in some uses, an angel, like in Revelation, the angel of the 7 churches, the angel of each church, or the angel of the church in Pergamos, for example, that's not an actual angelic being. It's actually a reference to the bishop of the church in Pergamos. And so on for, Smyrna and Laodicea and all the rest of the various 7 churches that are written to in the book of Revelation. But there are other places, and there is some passage, I should look it up, perhaps I'll get to that in a future installment, where it's something to the effect that people have entertained angels unaware. It's just to say they could appear among us as if they're just any ordinary person. So it's not totally inappropriate to portray angels as people that could seem to pass as ordinary folks. Like how people always think of these, Monica and Tess as just people we're working with. They're really nice and this and that, until later on they get revealed for their angelic role. So it's kind of a good template for, like I said, a slew of further stories that'll be scattered through the remainder of the seasons where somebody's dying and the things that they need to accomplish before they do die. So they have a little bit more help. I think the angels of death, when we move over, especially to Andrew, he'll be a little bit more, sympathetic. It's not like it's my time to take the person, So, but we'll see that in the future. Anyway, it's a fun, nice little episode, and that's all I have to say for that one. Thanks for